The sky burned red. Smoke and fire filled the air. Explosions shook the ground as the last battle began. Zura, the alien warrior, stood alone on a broken hill. Her silver armor was damaged, her breathing heavy. All around her, the battlefield was full of death and destruction. Her people were losing. The enemy humans were strong, fast, and clever, but Zura was not afraid. She was a warrior of the Zyrene race. She had trained for battle since childhood. Her long black hair was tied back. Her green eyes burned with anger and pride. In her hands, she held 2 energy swords. They glowed blue, humming with power. She had already taken down many enemies, but more were coming. The humans had machines, big walking tanks and flying drones. They attacked from all sides. Zura moved like lightning. She jumped, rolled, and fought with speed and skill. Her swords cut through metal and armor. She was like a storm, but even the strongest storm must end. A missile exploded near her. The force threw her into a wall of stone. Her swords flew from her hands. She tried to stand, but her body hurt. Blood ran down her face. Her arms, they were gone. She looked down and screamed. Both arms were gone from the elbow down, burned, broken, missing. Zura fell to her knees. The noise of battle faded in her mind. Her vision blurred. She could hear her own heartbeat slow, weak. She had failed. Her people were dead or captured. The war was lost. She closed her eyes. This is how I die, she thought. I will die a warrior then. She heard footsteps, heavy boots on metal. Not her people, that a shadow fell over her. She opened her eyes just a little. A man stood in front of her. A human, tall, strong, dark hair, short beard. He wore a pilot's suit with the Earth Alliance symbol. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel. He looked at her with surprise, then with something else, pity. Respect. She tried to speak, but her voice was only a whisper. Finish it. He stepped closer. No, he said softly. I'm not here to kill you. She blinked. What did he mean? I saw you fight, he continued. You didn't run. You didn't beg. You're the bravest alien I've ever seen. Zura coughed. I am not your friend. I know, the man said. But you don't deserve to die like this. He knelt beside her and carefully lifted her in his arms. She wanted to fight back, to shout, to strike, but her body was broken. Her strength was gone. Why? She asked. He looked down at her. Because I'm not like the others. And maybe you aren't either. Darkness pulled at her mind. Her body was cold, but his arms were warm. She felt safe for the first time in days. What's your name? She whispered. Captain Riker. He replied. You Zura, she said. Then everything went black. Zura didn't remember the journey. She didn't feel the medics working on her. She didn't hear the ship's engines. She just drifted in darkness. Her mind showed her memories, her training, her home, her family, her last battle. But always, that human face returned. His voice, his arms carrying her. Why did he save me? In her world, mercy was weakness. You saved your own kind, not the enemy. But that human, he did not act like an enemy. Slowly she opened her eyes. Bright white lights, a clean ceiling, beeping sounds, a hospital bed. She tried to move. Her arms metal, new shiny cold. Panic hit her. She sat up, breathing fast. Easy, said a calm voice. She turned her head. Captain Riker stood at the door. His face was tired, but he smiled. You're awake, he said. Zura glared at him. What did you do to me? I saved your life, he replied. Doctors gave you cybernetic arms. The best we had. I didn't ask for this, she growled. I know, he said, but I couldn't let you die. Zura looked down at her new arms. They moved like real ones, but they weren't hers. She felt anger, she felt shame, but deep inside, she also felt confused. Why do I care what he thinks? Riker stepped closer. We're not at war right now. You're safe here. She didn't answer. She lay back down, staring at the ceiling. The war was over, but her story just beginning. Zura woke with a sharp breath. Her eyes wide and alert. The ceiling above her was white, smooth, and unfamiliar. Strange machines blinked around her. A soft humming filled the room. She felt cold air on her skin. Her chest ached. Her back hurt. But what shocked her most were her arms. She raised them slowly. They were metal, sleek, silver, with glowing lines running down the sides. Not armor, not machines. They were her new arms. No, she whispered, voice rough. Relax, said a voice near the door. She turned sharply. Pain shot through her side, but she didn't show it. Captain Riker stood there wearing a simple black flight jacket. His face was calm but tired. He held a tablet in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other. You're in the medical bay. Earth. Alliance ship. Starbound Rain. You've been out for 6 days. Zura stared at him. Why did you bring me here? You were dying, he said. I wasn't going to let you die on that battlefield. I am your enemy. Riker shrugged. Not today. She looked away, her jaw tight. The last thing she remembered was blood, pain, and the ground pulling her under. Now she was lying on a human bed, surrounded by human machines, breathing human air. This is a prison, she said. No, Riker replied. It's a hospital. You're not chained, not locked. You can leave when you're strong enough. Her new arms twitched. She didn't trust them yet. A nurse entered, also human, also calm. She adjusted the monitors and nodded politely at Zura, then left without a word. Strange. No fear, no hatred. She had expected them to treat her like a monster, but instead, they treated her like a person. Why? She asked. Riker walked closer. I've seen real monsters, Zura, you're not one of them. Before she could reply, a loud alarm beeped. The lights in the room dimmed. Riker turned to the wall screen. Unauthorized entry. Sector D4, Medical Bay. The robotic voice repeated it twice. Riker's eyes narrowed. Stay here, he said. Zura stood. You're still weak, he warned. I fight or I die, she said flatly. It's who I am. Riker nodded once, then handed her a small plasma blade. Fine, but stay close. They stepped into the hallway. The lights were red now. Emergency mode. 2 soldiers ran past them. Another called out. Someone cut power to the security cams. They moved deeper into the ship's medical wing. Why attack the medical bay? Riker muttered. There's nothing here, but Zura stopped walking. Her voice was quiet. Me. Riker glanced at her. No one on this ship knows who you really are. Your armor was removed, your ID tag destroyed. But Zura was not so sure. Enemies could hide behind friendly faces. They reached a dark corner near the recovery rooms. A door stood open to quiet. No alarms, no guards. Riker raised his blaster. Zura tightened her grip on the short blade. Then they entered. The room was empty. Almost a soldier stood near a table. He had a knife in one hand, and a look of fear and hate in his eyes. Zura didn't recognize him, but he knew her. He growled, "You killed my brother." On Arcadia Prime, he was a medic. Zura stayed silent. "I saw your face on his helmet cam. He never lifted a weapon. He begged you to stop." Riker stepped between them. "Put the knife down, soldier." "She doesn't deserve to live," the man shouted. "I don't care what she deserves," Riker snapped. "She's under my protection." The soldier trembled with rage. "You protect killers now." Zura took a step forward. "Your brother died in battle. So did mine. So did millions. This is war. But I did not beg to be saved." Riker raised his voice. "This war is over. She's not your enemy anymore. Now leave. That's an order." The soldier hesitated, then dropped the knife. He gave Zura one last hateful look, then walked away. Silence returned to the room. Zura looked at Riker. "Why defend me?" He holstered his blaster. "Because someone has to stop the cycle. We keep killing each other. We'll never find peace." She sat on the edge of the table. Her arms ached. Not with pain, but with memory. So many dead. So much hate. And yet here was a human who saved her life. Twice. "Do all humans think like you?" she asked. Riker gave a tired smile. "Not even close." Zura looked down at her hands, her new metal hands. They moved with grace, with power, stronger than before, but they did not feel like her. "I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. "You're alive," Riker said. "That's a start." Outside the window, stars moved slowly in the black sea of space. The war had ended, but for Zura, something new had just begun. The ship was quiet, too quiet. Zura lay in her bed, eyes half closed, breathing slow and calm. But she was not asleep. Something felt wrong. She had learned to trust her instincts during war. Right now, they screamed in silence. The hum of the ship, the beep of the monitors, everything sounded normal. But behind that normal, something dark was hiding. She listened. A soft click. The door to her room unlocked. Her heartbeat slowed. She didn't move. The door opened with a slow hiss. A shadow entered the room, silent, careful. The figure stood at the foot of her bed, then moved closer. A knife glinted under the dim lights. Not a doctor. Not a nurse. An assassin. Zura's eyes opened just a crack. She saw black boots, a covered face, and a military badge. A human soldier stepped near her bed, raised the knife. Zura moved fast. She kicked up with her metal legs, hitting his arm. The knife flew across the room. He stumbled back. She rolled off the bed, grabbed a chair, and swung it into his ribs. He fell hard. She reached for the blade, but he grabbed her ankle and pulled. She hit the floor. He jumped on top of her hands, around her neck. "You should have stayed dead," he hissed. Zura fought back, her new arm strong and fast. She grabbed his wrist, twisted, and threw him off her. He slammed into the wall. The door burst open. It was Riker. He raised his blaster and shouted, "Don't move." The assassin reached for his weapon, but Riker shot first, stunning him. The man dropped to the floor, unconscious. Zura sat up, coughing. Riker ran to her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "I'm fine." He was trying to be quiet. "But I've heard that kind of silence before." 2 guards entered. Riker ordered them to take the attacker to the brig. As they dragged him out, Zura stared at the man's face. The mask had fallen. She recognized him. He was the same soldier from the hallway yesterday, the one who had lost his brother. "I warned you," she said to Riker. "I'm not safe here." Riker sat beside her. "You're safer than you were. And now we know some of my people still want revenge." Zura looked at her arms. She clenched her fists. "If I was weak, I'd be dead." "You're not weak," Riker said. "You're dangerous. That's why you're still breathing." They sat in silence for a moment. Zura broke it. "He almost succeeded. Not because I wasn't strong. But because I trusted the quiet, Riker nodded. You learned that in war. I survived by listening to what others ignored, she said. Riker stood. Then keep listening. I think there's more going on here. Zura looked at him. What? Do you mean? I checked the logs, he said. No one should have been able to enter this room. The door only opens to medical staff. And me. Zura's eyes narrowed. Then someone high up helped him. Riker nodded once. Exactly. The next day, Riker invited her to the ship's control center. The bridge was busy. Screens glowing, officers talking, maps flashing. Everyone turned when Zura entered, but no one spoke. She wore a black training suit now, not armor. Her arms were covered, her face calm. She's with me, Riker told them. He led her to a quiet corner where data logs blinked across a screen. I did some digging, he said. The man who tried to kill you was part of a unit called Red Light, Special Recon. They were wiped out in the war, so he shouldn't even be on this ship, Zura said. Exactly. Someone changed his records. She stared at the screen. He wasn't working alone. Riker's voice dropped. There's a group, maybe small, maybe large, but they think saving you was a mistake. Zura looked at him. Do you think it was? Riker met her eyes. No, I've seen killers. I've seen cowards. You're neither. For the first time, she smiled. A little I need to train, she said. If more are coming, I won't be lying in bed next time. I already arranged it, Riker said. Later, in the training room, Zura stood alone in front of a combat dummy. Her cyber arms moved with speed and power. She struck, blocked, spun, each movement sharper than the last. Riker watched from the doorway. She learns fast. One soldier whispered, "She's not one of us." Another replied. Zura heard them, but she didn't care. Let them whisper. Let them doubt. She would be ready. That night she sat alone in her room. The lights were low. She stared out the window at the stars. Someone had tried to kill her. Someone on this ship wanted her gone, but she had survived again. And now she was awake, not just in body, but in mind. She wasn't a soldier anymore. She was something else, something new. The shadows had come for her, but next time she would be waiting. It began with a sound, a soft pulse barely there. Just a repeating tone in the background of the ship's systems at first. The crew thought it was static, just space noise, harmless, but Zura didn't. She was sitting in the observation room, eyes closed, listening to the hum of the ship. It was peaceful until she heard it. A deep thump, like a heartbeat, far away, repeating every 6 seconds. Low, ancient. Her eyes snapped open. That sound wasn't random, it was a signal. Riker was in the command room when she burst in. "I need to speak with you," she said sharply. Zura were in the middle of. She stepped closer. "It's important. Life or death, important." Riker looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "Everyone, give us the room." Once the others left, Zura walked to the main screen. "Something is sending a signal near your ship. It's not human. It's not from my people either." Riker frowned. "How do you know?" "I've heard it before," she said, voice tight. "Once, years ago, on a dead moon in the red sector." He sat forward. "Go on." "My unit received a call from a station, an old mining outpost. When we arrived, everything was gone. No people, no signs of attack. Only one thing left behind." "That sound the same signal?" Riker asked. Zura nodded. "Exactly the same. We recorded it, tried to decode it. Our top scientists couldn't. Then our ship's AI broke down. Systems failed. One by one, our crew disappeared. Only I survived." Riker stood. "Why didn't your people report this?" "We did," she said. "Our leaders buried it. Said it was an old system malfunction, but I knew the truth. Something sent that signal. Something alive." Riker opened a new screen, pulling up ship sensor logs. "There's a small signal repeating from a system nearby. Dead zone. No planets, no ships, just empty space." Zura looked at him. "Then that's where it is." The starbound Rain turned course. As the ship approached the signal's origin, the crew grew nervous. Lights flickered, screens glitched, small tools vanished from storage. Engines slowed for no reason. The signal got louder. Zura stood beside Riker on the bridge, watching the stars slide past. "Your crew doesn't believe," she said. "They think I'm wrong." Riker looked ahead. "Most of them didn't survive the war like we did. They think peace means safety." Zura shook her head. "They're wrong." Then the ship stopped. Dead stop. No order was given. No warning. Just silence. Every system froze. Lights dimmed. Even the gravity flickered. "What's happening?" One officer shouted. "Engine offline." Another yelled, "AI unresponsive." Riker stared at the screen. "This isn't possible." Then the main screen blinked once. A single symbol appeared, a circle, split by a jagged line. Zura's face turned pale. "It's them," she said. "They sent a scout team." Zura went with them. A shuttle took them toward the saucer floating station. Black as space, hidden in shadow. No lights. No movement. It wasn't on any human or alien maps. The shuttle docked inside. The air was cold and dry. The walls were covered in markings like scratches, but organized. Symbols repeated over and over the same circle, the same jagged line. Zura touched the wall. "They're not just messages," she said. "They're warnings." The team moved forward. Bodies appeared. dozens frozen in place, human and alien both, all wearing uniforms from ships that went missing years ago. How did they get here? Riker whispered. No one had an answer. Then one of the soldiers touched a console. It lit up. The station came alive and the signal stopped back on the ship. The systems came online again. Lights returned. Engines powered up, but the signal gone. What did we do? One officer asked. Zura stared at the station through the window. We woke it up. Later that night, Zura stood alone in the hangar, staring at her reflection on a dark panel. Her metal arms shimmered in the low light. She flexed her fingers. They felt stronger now, more natural, but something still felt wrong. The signal wasn't just a call. It was a door, and they had opened it. Riker joined her. Engineers found logs in the station, he said. Most of it's corrupted, but some of the text matches old alien languages. From thousands of years ago. Zura didn't move. It's older than that. Riker looked at her. What are they? She finally turned to him. My people call them the Old Ones. A race that came before all others. We believed they were myths, ghost stories to scare young soldiers. And now I believe we are the children who just knocked on the door of the gods. Riker crossed his arms. Are they still out there? Zura's voice was cold. They never left. They were sleeping, waiting. He took a breath. Then we prepared. She nodded, because something had heard them, something old, something hungry, and it was coming. Two suns rose over the edge of the dead station, casting long shadows across the broken metal floor. Zura stood on the outer deck of the starbound Rain, staring into space. Her metal hands gripped the railing tightly. The silence between stars had changed. She could feel it. They are watching, she said quietly. Riker joined her. Who? The ones we woke, she replied. The old ones. He looked out at the stars. We don't even know what they want. Zura turned to him. They don't want peace. A meeting was called. Leaders from Earth's command appeared on a secure call. High-ranking officers, scientists, and advisors listened as Riker explained the discovery about the signal, the station, and the ancient warnings. Then Zura stepped forward. My people feared the old ones, she said. Long ago we tried to fight them. We failed. Entire colonies vanished overnight. We sealed our history. We thought silence would keep us safe. A human general spoke. Why haven't we seen them before? They don't attack planets, she said. They consume civilizations. From the inside out. Once they find you, they never stop. Another officer leaned forward. And now that we've woken them, they're coming, she replied. Silence filled the room. Then Riker spoke. We can't face them alone. Not humans, not aliens. We need each other. That was the moment everything changed. Zura stood in the hangar, watching as two ships docked side by side. One Earth Alliance vessel, one Zyrene scout ship. From the alien ship stepped Commander Velen, a tall figure with golden eyes and dark gray skin. He wore old ceremonial armor, scarred from battle. He was one of Zura's old commanders and someone who once called humans vermin. Velen stopped when he saw her. Zura, he said. I thought you were dead. I was, she replied. Then a human saved me. His eyes narrowed. You trust them now? No, she said honestly. But I fight beside them because the enemy coming for us does not care what race we are. Velen looked past her to Riker, who stood waiting. After a long pause, Velen gave a small nod. Then let's speak. In the war room, humans and Zyrene sat at the same table for the first time. Old wounds showed in their eyes, bitter memories, dead friends, broken planets. But the fear of the unknown was stronger. Zura and Riker stood side by side. Riker tapped the holoscreen, revealing a map of space with blinking red dots. These systems are going dark. No messages, no traffic, no signals. A Zyrene officer spoke. That's impossible. Zura shook her head. No, that's how it starts. First silence, then nothing. Riker pointed at the center of the map. We think this is where they're hiding. A gravity well. Nothing escapes it. No light, no sound. Velen stood. Then we must strike first. Riker disagreed. If we go now, we die. We don't know their strength. Zura looked at both. Then we buy time. Prepare weapons. Train together. Velen repeated. Like the word tasted strange, Zura looked him in the eye. We fight together, or we die alone. Training began the next day. Human soldiers trained with Zyrene warriors. There were arguments, fights, even a few broken bones, but slowly, something began to change. Zura sparred with Riker, her cyber arms moving fast and strong. She taught him alien defense forms. He taught her human tactics, quick, unpredictable, effective. Your people fight like fire, she said during one break. And yours fight like stone, Riker replied. Maybe fire and stone can hold the line. Later, Zura watched a human engineers working side by side with Zyrene techs. Laughter echoed down the hall. Small but real. An alliance was forming not just by command but by choice. That night, Zura stood alone again. She looked out the window, not at the stars but at the dark space between them. That's where they were, watching, waiting. Her old self would have wanted to run, hide, survive, but now she had something worth defending. Riker entered quietly. Just got word another station went silent. No wreckage, just gone. Zura didn't flinch. They're moving faster. He sat beside her. We may not be ready, No, she agreed. But we are no longer alone. Riker looked at her. You still don't trust me, do you? She turned to him. I trust your actions. That's more than I gave anyone before. He smiled softly. I'll take it. They sat together in the quiet, not friends, not enemies, allies by necessity and maybe something more. The stars blinked out. One by one they vanished from the edge of the sky. Not behind clouds, not behind planets. They were simply gone. Zura stood on the bridge of the starbound rain, staring at the dark patch growing in the distance. It looked like a shadow stretching across space, eating the light. It's starting, she whispered. Riker stepped beside her. Is that them? She nodded once. Yes. That's not space dust. That's them. A warning alarm echoed through the ship. Unidentified object detected. Mass unknown. Speed. Extreme. Officers ran to stations. Lights turned red. The room buzzed with energy. Riker barked orders. Raise shields. Power up weapons. I want a full scan. Everything. Zura didn't move. She had seen this before. In her dreams. In her memories back when her team first heard the signal. But back then the shadow had only been distant. Now it was coming. Alive. In space. Something moved. Not a ship. Not a fleet. It was massive, like a city made of dark metal and bone, floating silently through the void. Spikes jutted from its body like broken teeth. Green lights pulsed along its sides, flickering like breathing, and behind it, more. Not hundreds. Thousands. They've been waiting for this, Zura said. We opened the door and they've poured through. Riker stared at the data screen. It's a full invasion. The Alliance responded fast. Within hours, dozens of human and Zyrene ships formed a line. They weren't perfectly organized, different sizes, languages, tech, but they had one goal: hold the line. Zura and Riker flew together in a scout ship toward the front line. The control panel blinked, showing incoming enemy swarms. I've never seen anything like this, Riker muttered. Zura checked her weapons. No one has. These creatures don't come to conquer. They come to erase. They passed wreckage floating in space, destroyed ships, torn metal, frozen bodies. Too late for them, but not for everyone. The first wave hit hard. Alien crafts, shaped like insects and claws, dove into the battle. Their weapons didn't fire bullets or lasers. They fired energy that melted shields, broke code, and burned air. One human cruiser exploded in seconds. A Zyrene dreadnought spun out of control, crashing into an asteroid. Zura gritted her teeth. We need to target their minds. Riker looked at her. What do you mean? These aren't just ships. They're living, connected. Cut the brain, and the body falls. Riker nodded. Then let's find the brain. Inside the main enemy ship, deep scans showed a core pulsing alive, hidden beneath layers of bone-like metal. Zura's eyes narrowed. That's it. Their command node. It's buried under layers of death, Riker said. We can't fly straight in. She smiled. Who said anything about flying straight? They made a plan. A small attack team was formed, 5 ships. One goal: break into the core and plant a shock device. Zura and Riker led the charge. As they approached, enemy drones surrounded them. The sky lit up with chaos. Zura's hands moved fast across controls. Her ship rolled, twisted, fired. Riker shouted orders to the others. Keep formation. Follow Zura. They dodged incoming fire. One ship was hit, spinning into darkness. The others held. Zura found a weak spot in the enemy's outer shell. There she pointed. Follow me. They dived through the crack and entered the beast inside. It was like flying through a stomach. The walls moved. Lights pulsed. Everything felt alive. Weapons didn't work the same in here. Zura and Riker landed their ship near the glowing core. No time, she said. We plant it and run. They jumped out, boots hitting the strange wet floor. The core throbbed with energy. It had no wires, no tech, just raw, living power. Zura. Set the device. 2 minutes, she said. Let's go. But the ship shook. Something was coming. From the shadows, tall, twisted creatures crawled out, black skin, no eyes, long claws. Riker fired first. Go, I'll hold them. No, Zura said. We leave together. They fought side by side. Zura's cyber arms smashed bone and ripped through flesh. Riker's shots lit the hull. Then the device beeped. Time's up, Riker shouted. They ran the ship around them, screamed like it knew. They dove into their craft, engines blasting at full. Behind them, the core exploded in a wave of blue light. The creature shook, then cracked, its body folding in on itself outside. Enemy ships began to fall. One by one, back on the starbound rain, cheers filled the air. Enemy formations broke. Some ships vanished, others crashed into each other. The Alliance had bought time, a victory, not the war, but a breath of hope. Zura stood on the deck, helmet in hand, face covered in sweat and blood. Riker limped beside her, laughing. We actually did it. She looked at the stars. We slowed them. He nodded. Then, we keep slowing them, until we find a way to stop them for good. She turned to him. Together, he smiled. Always. The enemy returned, not with shadows but with a roar that echoed across space. The Alliance had one time, but the old ones were not beaten. Their swarm regrouped, larger than before. Whole stars vanished behind their ships. Entire systems stopped. responding. Zura stood in the war chamber, her arms crossed, watching the enemy fleet close in. Her cybernetic hands flexed once. She felt no pain now, only purpose. This is it, she said quietly. The final battle. Riker stood beside her, wearing a new flight suit. His wounds had healed, but his eyes looked older now, like a man who had seen too much, yet still refused to break. We don't have the numbers, one officer said. We don't have the tech, but we have something they don't, Riker replied her. Zura looked at him. Us, he nodded. Us. The Alliance launched everything. Every ship, every fighter, every pilot willing to stand. Humans and Zyrene stood side by side. Enemies yesterday, warriors today. Riker and Zura led the front line in a custom-built ship, fast, armored, designed for one thing, getting to the heart of the enemy. Above the battlefield, a giant creature appeared larger than any ship seen before. Its shape twisted as it moved, changing form in impossible ways. Zura whispered, "That's the source, the final mind. The heart of the hive. Destroy it, and the swarm dies." The battle raged like a storm. Red and blue lights flashed across the void. Explosions painted the sky. Ships spun, dodged, crashed. The silence of space filled with death and defiance. Zura and Riker broke through the first wave. Their ship dove into the belly of the swarm. Missiles locked on, they spun. Lasers sliced past them. Zura fired back with deadly calm. Her new arms controlled the weapons like they were part of her soul. One last firewall stood in their path, a swarm of enemy fighters, moving like one mind. Too many, Riker said. Zura smiled. Not enough. She pushed the ship faster, then ejected the wings, sending a shockwave through the swarm. The enemy scattered. They flew straight into the core. Inside, the giant enemy was dark. Alive. The walls pulsed. A voice echoed, not sound, but thought, "You are nothing." Zura clenched her fists. "I was nothing, you made me more." They reached the final chamber, a floating orb of light and shadow. The mind, the center. The voice came again. "You cannot kill what is forever." Riker placed a warcore device on the console, an unstable high-energy bomb, enough to wipe out a planet. Zura stepped forward. "Forever dies today." The enemy sent defenders, dozens of twisted forms, each different, all deadly. Zura and Riker fought together, back to back like fire and stone. She struck with machine strength, tearing enemies apart. He fired with deadly aim, never missing, but more kept coming. Zura saw Riker get knocked down. A claw tore into his suit. "Riker," she screamed. He raised a hand. "Finish it." She ran to the bomb, dodging blasts, and slammed her hand on the trigger. 60 seconds. She lifted Riker over her shoulder and sprinted to the ship. Blood ran down his side. The enemy mind screamed, walls shook, the entire creature shifting. They escaped just as the bomb exploded. The sky turned, white, then black, then quiet. The swarm froze. Ships stopped moving. The enemy fell apart like puppets, without strings. The war was over. Days later, Zura sat at Riker's bedside. He was alive, breathing, recovering. Doctors said it was close, but he'd make it. "You still look terrible," she said softly. His eyes opened. "You still owe me a drink." She smiled. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The enemy was gone, their mind destroyed. The Alliance had won, but something bigger had happened. Peace, real peace. A year passed. Zura stood before a crowd on Earth, a planet once filled with enemies, now filled with allies. She wore no armor, only a simple black uniform with 2 silver stripes, one for humanity, one for Zyrene. She spoke into the mic. "I once believed survival meant fighting alone. I was wrong." She paused. "I was saved by someone I called my enemy. I was healed by those I feared. And I found purpose in unity, not in blood." The crowd stood in silence, listening. "I was built to destroy. Now, I help build a future." She looked out, saw humans and Zyrene standing together. Families, friends, veterans. And in the front row, Riker. Smiling, she stepped down from the stage and stood beside him. He handed her something small, a metal dot engraved with 2 words, "For peace." She took it, closed her eyes and whispered, "I never thought I'd live to see peace." He looked at her and said, "That's because we fought for it." And together they walked forward into a future no one had dared to dream.